I need to answer all the questions. So is that mean that interview will only be judged on what all the questions we are going to answer? What is your opinion, guys? If I fail to answer one or two questions or two to three questions in the interview, is there any chance that I will still get selected? Right? What I will try to say is, because in my interview perspective, I have taken so far more than 100 plus interviews in my experience, right? So while I used to recruit for my team, or it might be a different team, even for SOC experts as well, while I interact with the many people, what will happen? The majority of the time, the only factor that affects whether you are going to select in the interview or not is your confidence level. The interviewer should think like the candidate is so confident, right? The candidate was so confident. First thing. Second thing, your communication skills should be good. Third thing, you should showcase your learning capabilities. Fourth thing, you should show your what is your boundary limit for your knowledge, right? So when all these things are shown in the interview, then only you can get selected in the typical interviews, guys. So that's a reason. Always remember, your answers are your next question in the interview. There is nothing called as question and answer, because what will happen? No interviewer will come prepare for the interview, right? Think like that. So what will happen? Interviewer will never think, okay, today I have an interview by morning 6 o'clock. Sorry, evening 6 o'clock. I need to go and ask him about Splunk tool. I need to ask him about firewall. No, nothing. They will just look at your resume when you start answering your first question, right? Second question, third question. By based on your answers, they will frame your next question. So that's the reason. Be careful while you go and head on towards the interview, right? Remember, strategically, if you follow these techniques, it becomes much more easier for you to win the race. Remember, every car that is participating in the car race is having equal capability to win the race. Every car will run at 160 km per hour or 180 km per hour. But why only one or two cars can win the race? Because of its driver's capability, because of the tactics and techniques that they use, right? So you can think like that. Every car, so they don't the sports car, whatever you see, every car, if you put them in a race, one or two driver can win it because of their skill, what they showcase, because of the timely sense of what they perform at that particular time. So that's a reason. What I'm trying to convey here is, every time while you go for a typical interview, keep these things in the mind that yes, I'm going to win this particular race, right? So bring in into your techniques and tactics. Never ever pressurize your mind, right? The more you pressurize, the more automatically what will happen? The skills get depleted, right? Your skills will be masked. You will totally thinking about, I need to win this or get this particular job, get this particular job. No, try to think that I'm going to give the best out of it, right? Let me try to give the best out of this, right? So that's the reason. What I'm trying to convey on this particular platform is, strategically plan according to your own profile, right? Each one of you, you have your own unique skills, right? So each one of you, you have your own unique skills. Try to use that particular skill to win the race, right? That it becomes much more easier for you to achieve. Clear? Okay. So the next part of our learning for today's discussion is all related to raw logs part of it. What are logs first, guys? What is a log? Anyone heard about this? Log. Okay, log is a collection of activity, information of an activity, computer recorded activity. Yes, log is nothing but it is an action, right, recorded of a particular event. For example, if you log in into your machine, a log will be generated. If you log out of a machine, a log will be generated, right? For every single activity that you perform, a log will be generated, or it's a record of an event. We call them as a record of an event or an action that is performed on a computer. We call them as the log of it. Remember? So these logs can be generated by any such particular security solution or a server or a machine. It might be anything of it, right? So that's what we call them as this typical log. Remember, in very simple guys, these logs are our main targets for being a security analyst, right? Because we want to investigate something, we want to derive something, all these things is achievable only by the use of logs of it. For example, a police investigation officer, so what they will do if they are monitoring a suspicious crime activity or a particular murder activity, they will look at every log of that particular murder, right? At what time the victim came into the hotel, at what time they ordered the food, who all were present at that particular moment, right? So at what time the food was delivered, who gave the food, at what time they gave their food, what was the bill they paid, who left, right? Everything they will monitor by using this particular log. Just like that, even we, the security analyst, use these logs for our investigation purpose to troubleshoot a particular issue, to do the basic investigation. We use this typical raw logs out of it, right? So these raw logs are stored, right, in an organization. So for more than 1 year, right? Raw logs, right? Raw logs are stored. Raw log is nothing but in the raw format, as the name itself says, raw log. Now you might be asking, sir, if there is a raw log, is there any other type of log? Definitely yes. That is what we call them as parsed log of it. Okay, let me share my screen here. Hope you guys can see my screen. Okay, so then what exactly is this rollup? Okay, as we said, the first action you can see here is what we call them as the raw log, right? You can see here, guys, this is in the raw format, right? As it is, that's a particular system gets generated. So as it is, we call them as this typical raw log. The below ones you can see here, this is what we call them as the parsed log. That means parsed log is nothing but chopping off the unwanted information from the log. See, when I try to read this particular log, there is a lot of unwanted information. I don't know what is this local host MAC 0000, host name, TCP, intrusion ID 0, begin, signature ID, seed IDs, remote port. I'm not sure about what all these information are. Few of the only fields I can read it and I can understand. Right. So what will happen? These logs can be parsed to get unique information. Okay, file name, file path, malware name, malware category, action taken, user, IP address, host. Only these information is available, right? Only these informations are available. So what we call them as these are parsed log. Usually parsed log, like we call them as human readable format of a log, right? This will help us for our investigation purpose. But however, raw logs are chosen over the parsed log because raw log will be having more of the information. Usually what will happen? These kind of parsed log will be stored for only 3 months, and these raw logs are stored for more than 1 year in a particular organization, right? So that's what we call them as raw log versus parsed log. Usually this might be a one interview question where you might get that what is the difference between raw log and parsed log. So why raw log is stored for 1 year? Because of forensic purpose as well, because of forensic purpose. Usually what will happen, any sort of attack investigation or any other different types of investigation, if you want to dig deeper and look at more logs, so that's why usually companies stores it for 1 year. After 1 year they will be automatically be deleted from a particular server out of it. So that's what we call them as password log versus raw log, right? So then we have different log analysis, right? Like a log analysis, I will show it in your Splunk itself directly, right? So speaking about event ID and logon types, right? Event ID and logon types. Can you guess here what are event IDs or logon types? What is this event ID? Any login, it's a successful logon. Event ID performed on endpoint. We can see through event viewer. Event ID is a unique entity. Okay, let me explain. So many of your answers are correct and some of them are relative as well. Event ID is an ID which gets generated especially on only Windows machine when a particular action is performed, right? For example, you might be having this question, sir, why can't it be on Linux? No, Linux doesn't have this particular feature where it is going to generate the Windows event ID. Only the Windows can generate. That's why we call the name as Windows event ID. And this is limited only for Windows machine, Windows operating systems itself. So what will happen whenever a particular user log in into a machine, whenever a particular user log out of a particular machine, whenever you gets added, right? So if you just go to the Google, right, and type in event ID list, right, click enter, you can see here the first URL, ultimate Windows security, right? The first one, if you just type in Windows event log encyclopedia, you will be able to find out thousands of logs, sorry, hundreds of Windows event IDs, right? So altogether, hundreds of event IDs that are present on this particular platform. But do we need to remember all of them, right? It becomes tough for us, right? So it becomes tough for us. So I can't remember all these hundreds of numbers. So that's why I have listed a few of them, which are very frequently used and frequently remembered as well. Interviewer will expect you to remember few of them. Now, if not all, at least 10 to 15, right? At least 10 to 15, you should be able to remember all of those particular aspect. So that's the reason. So 4624 user account login. That means whenever you log in into a machine successfully by entering a password, you will be getting an event ID called as 4624, right? 4625 is nothing but failed user account login, right? Failed user account login. 4720, a user account is created, right? So user account is created. 4726, user account was deleted, right? 4740, user account logout. Okay. So these kind of, so what we call them as event IDs, right? So usually what will happen, so these kind of event IDs will get generated when these actions has been performed on that particular machine, right? So that's what we call them as Windows event ID list. Clear? Any question with respect to Windows event IDs? You can just by heart those. So we don't have any shortcut to remember these event IDs, guys. You can just by heart those. Okay. Then we have this logon type. What is this particular logon type? Remember, guys, logon type is nothing but, right, how you log in into a particular machine, how you log in into our particular machine out of it. So for example, so are you logging into a machine by typing the password, or by using any saved credential, or by unlocking a machine, or by using any remote interactive machine, cashier interactive machine, right? So how you're going to log in into that, we'll say speak about this log on type. That's why the name says log on type 2, right? Log on type 2 is nothing but interactive logon. For example, when you log in into a machine by entering the username and password, right? You enter like Surya. Password name is Surya at 123, Surya at 1234 ABCDEFFIGH, right? Like this is what we call them as interactive logon. Second thing is network logon. So what will happen? Network logon. Some of the what we call them as, there are some certain shared drive. For example, while you work in any organization, you have your own shared drive, right? Like for example, this is a storage place where all your most of your teammates can store any documents, file or something, a common space for it. While you log in into that, we call them as network logon. Fourth one is a batch logon. Usually while you log in into multiple machines, right, in a batch, right, in a group, we call them as batch logon. Service, while you log on using a service account or any of the service by invoking a service, right, we call them as service. Seventh type is unlock, right? So when you unlock your machine, right, if it is locked, when you unlock using it, it is called as logon type 7. So logon type 8, network clear text, it is by using the clear text credentials, right? Like while you enter username and password, right? Like especially to a user machine or something, we call them as network clear text. New credentials, obviously, as the name itself says, while you use any sort of new credentials to log in, we call them as new credential login itself. Remote interactive, while you take RDP of a machine, right? While you take RDP of a machine and login, we call them as remote interactive. Cashier interactive, most of us, we do have a habit of storing the passwords into the browsers, right? While you just click on that, automatically username and password will be entered and you'll be logged in. That type of login we call them as cashier interactive. So these are all the different logon types which are predefined by your system or by Microsoft or by Windows. So these are not these, all these things don't change from company to company. Don't think like that, right? So sir, can we create a logon type 1, logon type 6, logon type 9? No, you cannot do that one. These are all the by default ones which are universally accepted, universally used in every single company, right? So these things will help us for our investigation purpose. Tomorrow, so if these numbers are present, 4720, logon type 4, you should be automatically be able to understand, okay, 4720, a user account was created, right? And if I see the number login type 2, it is interactive. Okay, a user has logged in by using these so and so password and username, right? These are all the bits and pieces of your investigation, right? Bits and pieces of your investigation. Login type 2 is nothing but interactive. While you enter the username and password, when a pop-up comes for you to enter the username and password, we call them as login type 2. Clear? So even we have this login failure ID as well, right? So these are all the numbers so which are present in your Windows logs, especially for login failure event. These numbers are present on that. These ID are present, right? What are these? See, while a user fails to enter a password, there are many different reasons for it, right? First thing, he may not be able to have, you don't have access to it, right? He is not a right user for accessing it. For example, if I am a person who is working in the SOC team, Necessarily, I should not be having access to a finance server, the Oracle server, because it has nothing to do with my job role. If I'm trying to enter the username and password, obviously it will be a failure and it will throw an alert or this particular ID, right? Account is currently disabled or you don't have permission to do that one, right? To get that particular information, we use this status and sub status code. So it is much more granular information for a particular account, what we call them as failed entering password situation, right? So if you have that particular situation, and it will automatically get that username does not exist, username is correct but the password is wrong, user is currently logged out, account is currently disabled, account expiration, all those things will come into picture out of it, right? So that's what we call them as status and substatus code. Remember, so these are all the numbering based ones, guys. It becomes tough for us to remember, but however, by heart some of them which will be easier for your understanding purpose. Clear? My screen is full itself, guys. I'm not sure like why you're getting this particular question. I hope even you can full screen your machine, like well, from your mobile, or if you are viewing from the laptop, you can just make it full screen on that part. If I do the maximum thing, obviously the content will be masked. You can see the below URL is not visible. You can see here, content will be deleted. So that's the reason. So I always set it for how much the whole content is visible. If I make more of it, the content will be masked. Is that fine now? Okay. So then we learned about what are the status and the substatus code of it, right? So then let's try to analyze few of the particular logs, right? Sample logs here and try to extract the field names out of it. What are the different fields you can see here? Anyone? What are the different fields that you can focus on this particular part of it? Any guess? This is a raw log, guys. What you are seeing at the right section of it, we call them as the raw log part of it. Okay, log on type. The account has been successfully logged in. You can see here, this is what a Active Directory log looks like, or a AD log looks like on this particular part of it. Remember, in this particular Active Directory log, there are so much of information, but we need to derive the core information out of it. Every now and then we need to understand what exactly that particular log is trying to give the information out of it. For example, you can see here, okay, event ID is 4624, task category is log on, then username is not available, okay, computer name is available, right? So then logon type 3. Okay, what exactly is this logon type 3, right? What type of login it is? We need to understand that information. Account name is administrator, right? So then 4624 user has logged in. So these information we call them as field extraction, right? So even you guys should be able to. Right now it is highlighted and here we have given detailed information. But later on, what will happen? Only this raw log will be present. You should be in a place to understand or digest what exactly this log is trying to communicate with you, right? What information is it or trying to give that particular information out of it, right? So that's a reason we need to understand this raw log analysis. Remember, raw log analysis is a very important aspect, right? Here, the interviewer will expect you to analyze a particular raw log. There are some situations where the interviewer will give a raw log to you and you should be responding back what exactly that raw log is trying to give the information, right? So they'll just show the raw log to you and you should be able to explain what exactly that particular log is trying to convey that particular information out of it, right? So that's what we call them as the raw log analysis out of it, right? This is a sample log for failed ones. You can see here event ID is 4625. 4625 is the thing, but a user failed to enter the username and password. Then we have the account name as administrator. You can see the status and substatus code, right? 0xc 406D 6A. So then when you just go to the Google and type this number, you'll get to see, okay, what was the exact reason for the failure, right? Is the user entered the wrong username, or is the user entered the wrong password, or the user has account has expired, or the password has expired? All those information we will be able to get through this particular ones of it, right? Yes, as Ravindra is asking in the chat, right? Definitely yes. So sometimes interviewers will display a particular log and ask, okay, can you just show or explain what exactly these are, right? You should be in a place to explain, right? If you're asking about the firewall log, you can see here, these are all the firewall logs, right? So these are all the firewall logs, right? You can see here. So when you just don't look at the bottom part, just look at the first ones. Just focus on the first ones, guys, right? And see like what information you can grab. Just look at word by word and see what information you can convey. Okay, first thing is date and time, right? So June 14th, 9:39. Okay, so PAN FW is nothing but Palo Alto Network Firewall. Okay, this is a Palo Alto Network Firewall via Panorama. Okay, this is also a type of it. Then I don't know what is this. So 1, comma 2021 614. Okay, I don't know. Forget about it. Then I came to traffic. Right, this is a traffic log. That means a user is trying to access through the internet. This has been recorded. We call them as traffic log. Then I don't. There are something information I am not aware of it. Okay, let's forget about it. Then I have this particular IP address 10.48.33.163. Usually it will be the source IP address and this will be your destination, right? So then we have internet access. Okay, so apps, comma, SC slash K Patil. SC stands for SOC experts. Usually it will be your company name or address like TCS, right? Or it might be Mindtree, MT, or Cognizant, CG. So something name will be given. K Patil is our username, right? So then we have next information is 443. You can see here 443. This is a port number, right? So TCP allow. That means this traffic has been allowed from so and so IP to so and so IP with the user called as K Patil on port number 443. Right? This information you can easily grab out of it, right? This information you can easily grab out of it. So that's what we call them as the firewall log of it. Clear? Right? So just like how I did this investigation, right? Even you should be able to do it, right? So just like read line by line, right? See, there are lots of information in a one single log. Don't try to break your head. Don't think that everything is available and all the information I need to grab of it. No, the answer is no, right? So you need to just divide it into bits and pieces, right? Divide into bits and pieces. For example, while you eat a chocolate, you don't eat the entire chocolate at a one single time. You eat it into bits and pieces, right? So that you can feel the taste of it. If you eat all the chocolate at one single time, right, your mouth is full. You'll be in a place of digestion, like you'll not be able to taste that or enjoy the chocolate. So just like that, here as well. The second log, when you can just see that, okay, June 14, 9:39, 12, right? So where I'm moving my cursor, you can see. So that's how I'm reading my log. Okay. So there is some this information. Okay. Never mind. Forget about it. PAN firewall. Okay. This is our Palo Alto network firewall. This is a threat log, right? This is a threat log. That means threat is nothing but this is something suspicious. Your firewall by default is saying it is threat. Okay, well and good. Let's see the next information out of it. So then we have this particular IP address present. Okay, this will be the source. This will be the destination IP address. Then it says allowed. That means the communication has been allowed. No need to worry about it. Okay. Then SOC experts, yes, Zapata. Okay, this is our user who is sitting in the US. Well and good. So then we have this SSL traffic that is flowing in, right? So forwarding default. Then we have on this port number 443. I don't know what is this 59947444581. Never mind, leave it. 443 is our port number. So where we can observe HTTPS traffic on that particular machine. Then it says a TCP. What kind of traffic is moving on? It's a TCP, right? So that TCP alert. So then we have this United States Smart Screen Microsoft.com. This is the URL, right? This is the URL which the user is trying to access to the particular machine. So then we can check the threat intel information of this. Just copy paste it into threat intel information page. It will say whether these are malicious or not on that particular part of it, right? So you can see unknown app, threat, computer, and internet information. So this is what we can provide this particular information, right? That's how we're going to analyze a typical firewall log of it. Clear? So you have like, okay, let me answer a few of the questions here. What are the different types of firewall logs can generate? Firewall log can generate only the traffic logs or the threat logs. Only two types. Traffic log is nothing but whatever the traffic that is going in. You know that firewall, it has to bypass through the firewall to get access to the internet, right? All those requests, whatever it goes, it will be recorded as a traffic. If the firewall finds something suspicious, it will be categorized as a threat logs. It will be categorized as a threat log of it, right? So that's what we call them as traffic and the threat log. Clear? So how many different vendors are there? So Ravindra, like there are hundreds of vendors that are available in the market, right? So if you go to a different company, different vendors are available. Are these logs are same? Of course, yes. Most of the field names and all those things are the same because see, companies are different. The underlying logic and the functionality are the same. They act as a firewall. They will bypass through it, and the log will be generated. Most of the time, the information might be same, but slightly different. But yes, so the core information will always remains the same. Where can we find this firewall log? You cannot find the firewall log anywhere apart from your SIM solution, right? Your SIM is the only place where you will be able to get it. right? So in the SIM itself, you'll be able to get all the logs, not only from the firewall, it might be from any device of your organization. You can find it in your SIM tool, unless and until you should be onboarding those, right? Firewall, it does its job. Firewall is sitting in its place. It is just allowing and doing the traffic. It is having a log of it. It's our job. We will onboard those logs into SIM solution and do whatever we want to, right? That's why. So firewall logs are onboarded into our particular SIM solution. From there, we do the further correlation and we do this typical what we call them as our raw log analysis section. I will repeat once again, raw log analysis is nothing but it's a very simple where you read the log bit by bit, right? Starting from the point number one. So you can see, okay, so this is a date and time. Then you try to read, okay, there are IP address present, try to correlate them from so which source IP to which destination IP. Okay, then it says traffic log, no need to worry of it. Then allowed, the word says allowed. Okay, it's a type of allowed, right? So then we have the Ethernet. Okay, so then we have the port number 53. This is a DNS log, right? This is a DNS log of it. Then it says allowed condition, right? So this is what the information we need. So there are many other things. Don't try to break your head. As I said, so this is a raw format, right? This is a raw format. So it will be having lots of information which we need to worry of. Only thing is try to grab the core information that is sufficient, right? So the example what you are trying to see in the screen, all the four are same type of log, firewall log itself, right? So you can see the logics are different, the URLs are different, the traffic is different. That's the only difference. Apart from that, all four are same. No difference on that. All four are firewall log itself, right? So DNS logs and HTTP logs are different. Yes, Sandeep. DNS log and both of them are same, different. So how do you know that which one is source and destination? Every time when you first encounter from the left hand side any first IP address, it will be your source. Afterwards, it will be coming. We call them as destination. Source to destination. That's how it will be recorded, right? First ones, anything which comes from the left hand side from the first, we call them as source IP. From the right, we call them as destination IP. Clear? Are there any tools where we can copy raw log and convert it into understandable format? No, we don't have such. Your sim tool itself will give the parsed log. No need to worry. See, sim tool is also having a capability of converting this raw log into parsed log. Right? A sim itself will do that particular job for you. Clear? You can see here, right? So I think like it's already been highlighted in these raw logs. Source IP to destination IP. This will be your source. This will be your destination. 10.192.104.61 is the source. 25.145.141.193 is your destination. Okay. So likewise, we have the different types of logs. You can observe firewall log. This is a malware raw log, right? So I will share this document in your WhatsApp group so you can go through this particular logs of it. Okay. This is how a malware log looks like usually. right? Like in the malware log, you can observe when you try to analyze a particular malware log, you can see semantic SEP. That means semantic endpoint protection. Okay, well and good. Then we have this host name on which particular machine the detection was made. Then it says local port. Okay, no need to worry about it. Then we have so the next information that we will be looking at is application. Okay, which application is used here? Dropbox. Dropbox is an application which is used for this malicious intention. Then you can see the blocked hash value is also present, which is malicious, on which username also, right? What is the username? In the second row log, you can see this is a host machine, right? Which is the application path where the malware file is sitting. Then the IP is also present. Then the username is Anil, right? Then the hash value. What is the CV ID for it, right? All those information is present within this particular malware log of it, right? So that's what we call that as the malware log. Clear? So then we have this DNS log, WAF log, all those information. So we have pasted within this particular ones. Same components. I think we learned about aggregation, normalization, and parsing. I think one of your friend was asking, so how do we convert this raw log into a parsed log? Who converts it? Is there any tool for it? Your sim itself will do that particular job. That's what we'll call them as parsing. Right? Parsing is nothing but eliminating the unwanted traffic and giving only the legitimate information out of it. Right? So that parsing is a by default feature for your sim solution. You need not to install it. You need not to do some extra activity for it. It's a default version. I will show it in the Splunk. Right? By default, it is already been available within your sim solution. Right? So that's what we call them as your raw log section out of it. I will share it in your WhatsApp group, guys. Right? I know that few of you have many questions about it with respect to this particular document and all. Just read it, right? So when you read it, obviously you'll try to get more information out of it. Okay. Let me share it in your group now. It's raw log. It's shared in your WhatsApp group, guys. You can download and you can just have a look out of it, right? You can just check about the particular ones. Okay, so read about this particular document. Okay, so just to take a break within that particular time. It's not a break, guys. Read about it, read in the document, see each and every part of it. If you have any doubts, let me clarify the doubts and we'll begin with our Splunk demo today. Is the instruction clear? Any questions on that? Am I clear, guys? If you still have a doubts, if I start the next part out of it, your mind will be still rotating around the same questions. What is this? What is that? So that's the reason. Let's clear our mind and let's begin our next part of our learning. Okay. right? We call them as bots, right? Splunk bots, right? bots.splunk.com. This is a place where you can go ahead and do that one. So first of all, before trying to access this one, you need to create your account first, and as usual, so just like we used to do for our normal traditional way of accessing a particular application, right? Where we go and create a new user account, you can just create your particular account and you need to log in into your particular account first. Once when you log in into your particular machine, you will be able to see all these courses. Right? So these are all the smaller different parts of the courses where you will be able to get more information about the particular course of it. Right now, don't try to look into anyone and go deeper because Splunk itself is new for you. And altogether, if you are looking at this particular ones for the very first time, you may get confused. To avoid this particular ones, just ignore it. Right? Just focus on what is required right now. Okay. So hope my screen is visible for everyone. Okay. So next one. So what I will do, just go select any of these particular courses, right? Like just select hunting and APT with the Splunk or anyone. I'll go with hunting and APT with Splunk initial access. Just click on this particular course. Then you'll be see under resource section. You'll be able to see this resource tab. Just click on the resource tab. Here, your Splunk is able to access readily. Just click on this particular URL. One click, it will load in a different page altogether. It will ask for the username and password. You can just copy username and password, right? So for me, directly logged in because I logged in into this particular URL few minutes or few seconds ago. That's why it didn't ask for username and password. If it asks for username and password, those details are readily available here. You can see here user ID and password, right? So you can use this, and once you log in, this is how the exact UI of a Splunk tool looks like, right? This is where most of our basic operations will be performed. As I explained in my last session related to the architecture of this Splunk mainly consists of three parts of it: forwarder, indexer, search head. Forwarder is a component which will be installed on your firewall, which will be installed on your DNS, DHCP servers, switches, router to forward the logs into your indexer, right? Within the forwarder, we have two types of forwarders: universal and heavy forwarder. Heavy forwarder does the filtering, right? So it will not send all the logs, only limited type of logs will be sent. Universal forwarder, it will be sent all type of logs. Any log that gets generated, it will be just sent it towards your indexer part of it. Then indexer is a core part of your Splunk tool where it will store the logs for you. First thing, it will do the parsing, right? Second thing, parsing is the thing, but as I said, chopping off the unwanted data and giving the parsed information, it will be done at the indexer. It will do the aggregation and normalization, where the storing of the logs will be done in the proprietary manner of it. That's what we call them as your indexing capabilities. Third component is the searched. This is what the searched component is called as. This is just a UI of your Splunk tool. This is a search bar, right? Remember, Splunk uses SPL programming language, Splunk programming language, right? That means Splunk is having its own type of commands which it will follow, right? Which it will going to follow. That's what we call them as Splunk programming language, right? This SPL is what we are going to learn in our today's and tomorrow session out of it, right? So we are going to learn few of the different types of commands, look at what are those different commands, why we need to use those particular commands. All those information will be available, right? So this is a search it. I will just introduce you to the UI first, right? Once we are familiarized with the UI and all, we can begin our learning with respect to the commands section. You can see this is a search it, right? Like what you can see, enter the search here. This is a place where all the command execution will be happening out of it. Then we have this time set, right? So these are all the different time sets which is going to show. If you want to search it from a particular time range, you can go with the date and time range, right? So date and time range since, or you can go with the between, right? So if you go into real time, right? For example, last 10 minutes ago, last quarter ago, or last year, right? All those different presets are already available. Date and time range, right? If you just give it as between, from this date to this date, you can get those information. There are already presets as well. Presets are nothing but like by default or usually used ones. Last 24 hours, last 7 days, or it might be year to date. All those different time range options are available based on the search. These requirements will be different from request to request. Sometimes while you're investigating, you need this particular request to be run for August 1st to August 22nd. Then you need to set the time range. Sometimes you need to set this particular request for last 5 days. Just you need to click on last 7 days, or you can go with time range. Right, select the date and time. It will be executing the search. Right, so it depends on our type of investigation. Sometimes the malware was present in the machine from morning 7 o'clock to afternoon 2 o'clock. Just as load or set that particular date and time range, automatically only between that particular time what all the logs are generated, those logs are available on this particular part of it. So that is what we call them as your date, oh sorry, date and time range out of it. Then we have this mode, right? Fast mode, smart mode, and verbose mode. What are these three modes? What are these three modes of it? Fast mode, smart mode, verbose mode. This is a way of running the search, right? So this is a way of running the search out of it. What exactly it does? Usually what will happen while you search the log for last 1 year, 6 months, 9 months, it will take much of the time. Sometimes what we need, we don't, we need the information to be fast, and less information is sufficient for us. Then we can go with fast mode or smart mode. Verbose mode is by default one. As you can see, all events and field data will be displayed. That's why this will take much amount of time. If you just set it on fast mode or smart mode, what will happen? So the search will be fast. As the name itself says, fast and smart. The search will be fast, but what will happen? No event or field data will be available. Less information will be available, right? So lesser the information will be available on this particular part of it. That's what we call them as the fast mode or the smart mode of your search. Clear with the mode? Usually we set it under the verbose mode. This is a common preferred mode because it will cover all the information of your search, right? It will not be hurry burry, or it will not be speed. It will be slow itself, but it will cover all the aspects of that particular information, right? Smart and fast mode, both of them will give or it will retrieve the information fast, but limited information will be shown there, right? Only few of the information will be available. That's what we call them as fast and smart. Verbose is by default one, which will be running with a high speed. Clear? So then the next part of it, usually these settings ones, right? The settings and all, you can just check on that particular part. It will give an option to create indexes as well. Usually what will happen, you can create different indexes within an index. For example, I need all the firewall logs to be stored under one indexer. We can call them as index equals to firewall. Right? Who can create these indexes? Can we do this? The answer is no. Your Splunk admin. Your Splunk admin can go ahead and create this particular feature for you. index equals to firewall, index equals to DNS, where within the speculated indexes, only those information will be stored. If I just give index equals to firewall, only the firewall logs will be available. If I give index equals to DNS, only DNS logs will be available, right? I can't add my DNS logs into firewall log because it doesn't make sense to it. We can't correlate the information, right? Those index creation will be done by your admin. One thing to keep it in the mind here, the major configurations of any Splunk, or it might be any tool of the SOC team, whichever we are using, it can be done by your lead or manager alone, right? So not by L1, not by L2 can do any part of this particular changes, right? We are just the users of this application. We cannot do any changes to it, right? So that's the reason. So we have the limited capability for any of this particular tool of it. Clear? So that activity tab, it will just give the activity of triggered alerts and all this information and messages. If you have any error message with respect to Splunk, that means anything, any by default error that was that the Splunk wants to throw will be available under this message section. User, it will show your user, it will show your account information, right? What exactly it is. You can see here in the settings, only few informations are available, right? Alone, if you are admin of it, it will show enormous amount of information. That's a key difference between the both. Clear? After seeing the log, how can we identify this is firewall or DNS? Santosh, are you seeing any log right now? Is any log available or visible right now? No, right? If I search, then only the log visible. If I want to search, I want to give what log in what log I want to see. Then it's clear, right? You are aware of what log you want to look at. In the settings, where can I give index equals to DNS? Settings part you don't give. This is where you should be giving it. All the command execution will be happening at this particular space. Notification of an alert, Darshan, you can see here under the activity. If you go to the triggered alerts, right? If you just select this option, you'll be getting the information of it. If you have the admin access for this Splunk, yes, you can use the same thing. See, access is different. Logs and all those commands will not change. You go for any company, the same commands, the same UI will be there. UI commands will never change. Okay, so these are all the different information with respect to Splunk. Okay, so let me just try to give the information. So what I will do, first thing I will give asterisk symbol. What is this particular asterisk symbol? If you just click enter, you can see all the logs, right? Right now, I haven't introduced you guys into the command first, right? Let's just get familiarized with the logs for UI first, then we can do, right? So this is what we call them as progress bar, right? This is what we call them as the progress bar, right? What is this particular progress bar or something? So this will show whether our search is completed or not. You can see it is still blinking, right? If it is blinking, that means the search is not yet fully executed, right? It is still going on. You can see here the differentiation, right? Once the search is totally complete, then it will says it will be fully available. Okay, so you can see these are all the different fields, right? By default, right? So in the left hand side, Splunk, what it will do is, one good feature of Splunk, I would like to bring it on the table right now, is it will give the interesting field names. By default, it will pick up few of the field names from the logs and it will show, okay, what is the different actions, what are the indexes, what are the message count here, right? So all those by default information will be present so that you can add it into search as well. Okay, action is there. I want to see only allowed. I'll go to the action and I'll just click on allowed ones. Automatically you can see it will be added into the search option, right? Automatically it gets added up, right? So that's why Splunk commands are case sensitive. Splunk commands are case sensitive of it, right? If I in the space of small letter a, if I just type capital letter A, it will throw me an error where I'll not be able to get the information. You can see star action equals to capital allowed. If it is okay, capital A is also there. If I make it capital D, you can see here. So it will just try to show a particular error of it. You can see here. Just type in enter. Okay. Okay. Will I use any L L shift O? If I made capital A and type enter, you can see here capital letter A allowed is allowed. That means so it will just take up only this particular part of it, right? So if I change any of the particular options, right? If I remove equals to and put a particular asterisk, so it won't take up any of these particular ones, right? So all those information will not be able to pass out of it, right? So if I just give double quotes and if I forget to give the one side of the code, also it will not take up the particular ones, right? Field names are case sensitive. Remember, field names are case sensitive. Small a, o, small d. Okay, now it seems to be good. Right? You can see a host as well. If you just add it up, so you will get that particular information. This is how the basic UI looks like, right? So these are all interesting fields. Who create these interesting fields? Are we going to do that? No, this is a by default feature of this particular tool. It will capture this particular field names and keep it in the left hand side. That's why we get this information called as interesting fields. What are these selected fields? So these are by default selected fields. This is also one of your interview question. You might get this. Can you name these three by default selected fields? Host, source, and source type. What is the meaning of it? From which host are you getting the logs? Right? What is the source of the particular log? From where the logs has been stored? What is the source type? Whether they are a parent traffic log or it might be any sort of endpoint log, we get that information, right? I will explain once again. These three are by default selected logs in any of your log environment. Host is nothing but from which host you are getting the log, right? Like these are all the different users: Jupyter, Growler, Beaton, ghoppy, biggest. So these are all the different users. That's why we call them as host. So this is a host name. Second one is source. From which source are we getting the logs, right? What is the source where the log has been stored, from where we are retrieving the logs? Source type, as the name itself says, type of log. Is it a firewall log? Is it a pan traffic log? Is it a suricata log? Is it a semantic log? We'll get that particular information, right? So that's what we call them as your default selected fields of it. This is how your basic UI looks like with respect to the Splunk part of it. Any questions so far with respect to Splunk, guys? Tomorrow I'll demonstrate different types of commands as well. You can create one, Ravindra. You can create a different dashboard for that one. I will show that one at the time of your dashboard creation section, right? So I'll just give a glimpse of it. Tomorrow we are going to learn how to use different commands, right? And on Monday, we're going to learn about how to create a dashboard and reporting in the Splunk. Yes, you need to remember all the different types of Splunk commands. Your business email is not required to create a Splunk account. Normally, your user account, your Gmail account should work fine. Is a drill down search available in this? No, this is not available. Okay. Assignment for the day is you need to research about Splunk. You should research about Splunk UI, create an account in your Splunk, right? So try to digest all these things for our today's session. Tomorrow we're going to learn about the command section. Today itself, if I start command, it will be a much more bit tough for you guys to understand because you are interacting for the Splunk for the very first time. For some of you, the UI itself is the very first time you're looking at. And altogether, if I start using different commands, right, it becomes tough for you to digest. That's why let's go slow and steady so that it will be so that all of us are on the same boat and we can focus together. Clear? Any more questions or doubts from anyone? I'm happy to take any questions right now. Okay. Does Linux also create event logs? Yes, Linux also can create the event logs. Linux can also generate the logs, and even those logs can be fed into SIM solution. That is possible. Splunk and Splunk Enterprise Security. Ravindra, Splunk Enterprise Security will comes up with an add-on feature of generation of the alerts and all those things. Splunk, normal Splunk is a basic log management tool. Splunk Enterprise will comes up with the additional feature of alert and all those alert creation, triggering, and all those things. Will XDR replace the SIM in the future? Not 100%, but definitely yes. Competitor, I can say. XDR is a competitor technology for a SIM solution. How to create alerts? Let's learn in the future. Is Splunk Cloud available? Yes. Right now, what you're seeing is itself is a Splunk Cloud. It's a free version. You need not to pay right now. For the company, yes, you need to pay. Can you send Splunk installation process? Splunk installation process, the last time the document which I shared, it is available. And a few of the other documents also I have. I'll be sharing those documents as well. Alerts are not created by Splunk manager. It will be by your lead, team lead or Splunk admin is responsible for it. How do I access the URL you presented? The portal, but I see only these. Okay. Share the boss link in the WhatsApp group. Yes, I can do that one. I will learn just Splunk or Splunk Enterprise Security. Splunk Enterprise Security itself, we are learning it. See, commands is a core thing. Try to understand you're not learning Splunk or Splunk Enterprise Security. Splunk itself is new for you, right? First, try to use the commands, get handy of the commands, then it will be easier for you. If you know how to use a mobile phone, if you are using an iPhone or a normal Android, that doesn't matter to you, right? So first try to use the mobile phone first, then let's think about it. Can you tell the numbers how many commands to remember in Splunk? I can say around 10 to 15 commands you need to remember. Sumo Logic is a SIM tool, right? Yes. This is not a PPT, Ashwini. This is a tool which I logged in and I show the demo of it. Almost every security comes with integrated threat intelligence. Then what is the need of integrating TI with SIM? Okay, that's a good question, Sandeep. If every security solution comes up with a threat intelligence, fine. All those tool logs, who is going to monitor? Your SIM solution is going to monitor. Ultimately, SIM is the one which is going to detect your malicious entity. For that one, you need some threat intel inputs, right? That's why we are going to integrate. From your firewall, IDS, IPS, every tool will feed the log towards your SIM solution. Then what will happen? Your SIM solution, right? So then what will happen? Your SIM solution is the one which is going to detect the malicious entity. To detect that one, it needs this threat intel information. That's why you are integrating SIM with your threat intelligence. What is the difference between Splunk or Enterprise? Okay, I answered this question. As a Splunk is used for both analytics. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to speak about the commands. Then only I can share the command list. Thank you. Okay, I think all the questions are answered right now. Okay, cool then. If all of us are on the same page, okay, let's call it for a day. I don't see any questions in the group chat. Okay, so we'll meet tomorrow with our next part of the discussion, okay, regarding how to practice Splunk commands. Okay, thank you. Have a good day. Bye bye.